Hello, everyone. Okay, ladies, this Relationships and Chill episode is for you. Why does it seem that far too many men struggle with communication? Stay tuned and we'll find out.
You're listening to Relationships and Chill, the podcast for singles and couples about how to find and cultivate the relationship you've always dreamed of, based on trust and honest communication. Why waste your time going through the typical dating obstacle course, only to end up with drama, jealousy, and heartbreak, when you can find the love of your life and live happily ever after? So sit back, chill, and get ready to make relationships great again.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings. R. Anthony here, back with another episode of Relationships and Chill. And this is going to be a great episode. I say that every episode, but it really is, because I noticed that a lot of women struggle with this particular issue a lot, like a whole lot. But on the flip side, some women don't. So I think what I'm going to do this episode, I'm going to kind of take the background and well, let me introduce y'all. Let me introduce the hostesses that's here on this episode again. I have, of course, my duly esteemed colleague, Christina Latrice. She's here. Say what's up, Christina Latrice.
Hey, everybody.
Give you a little light applause. I can't just give myself a light applause. And of course, my woman, Coach Elulu, is back on the scene.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome back. Welcome back. It was a slow applause, but yes, welcome back. All right. So I noticed that a lot of women, they have this particular issue going on, and it runs rampant in relationships. So what we wanted to do was go ahead and we wanted to do an episode that women can pull a lot of information from and find out why is it so hard for us men to communicate. And before we start, I want to start off just kind of telling my transition into being an effective communicator. So when I was a lot younger, I was very shy. I was an extremely shy guy, and I didn't really have the conversational skills because I focused mainly on sports. I didn't really focus on being a social person. So I didn't really focus on that. But at a certain point, I realized that in order for me to be effective in my life, I have to be able to express myself and communicate the feelings that I have at that moment, because I'd be danged if I be miserable because of somebody else. You know what I mean? So I want to be able to express myself and express how I feel, because what happens if you can't do that, you begin to put up with a lot of stuff that you don't want to put up with or don't have to put up with. So when a man's not able to communicate effectively, it's hard for him to be able to move out of that space of not wanting to or having the capabilities of expressing himself and being able to rationalize it for the woman why he thinks that way or why he feels that way.
Wow.
Because it's basically a twofold, where you express what you feel at that moment, and then you bring or make that person understand why you feel that way. I noticed that softens the blow a whole lot as it relates to having conversations and dialogues, especially with women. So you definitely have to start with that process in mind for the fellas. But this one is for the ladies. So that is something you guys can work on and help them utilize. That's a great tool. But it took me a while to become an effective communicator. And I understood that it was extremely important that I do that, because for one thing, I wasn't going to let a woman out communicate me. That's typically like the one thing that women have, that they tend to like say, okay, well, he doesn't do this. And I wasn't going to let that definitely be the thing that stood in the way of a great relationship. So I don't know, Christina Latrice, we can start on a lot of different areas, but I think you're the kind of like the expert, so to speak, in this particular regard.
You know what? I'm gonna say, to be honest with you, our Anthony, I would like to start off with your relationship with Coach Lulu.
Okay.
And the reason why I want to start there is because that's the example of what it is to be an effective male communicator within a relationship, I think. And I
Hmm.
think that you guys would set the bar for that. So I'd like to start there as to, where is it that we need to be in a relationship? And what do we look for in our men to effectively communicate with
Okay.
us in our relationship?
Well, as far as the bar goes, I don't know if we're at the bar, but I know for me, I know for the man in the relationship, it really sets the tone of the relationship when he can clearly and effectively express what he sees that needs to be changed. Because a lot of times in relationships, women are, they bring up and typically bring up the issues, whereas men just kind of coast along, and
Hmm.
the women see the problems and the issues or the lack thereof as far as communication, and that becomes the problem at hand anyway. Just her not being feeling that she's being heard, or
Hmm.
she's not being understood. And but we typically try, as men, we typically like coast anyway. Once we are in a
Right.
relationship, we figure that, I mean, people in relationships period, we figure that once we get a relationship, it just has to, we just put it on the oven, and it just simmers,
Right.
and we don't really progress. We just typically stay there. And
Mm.
two, I think it would be okay if a lot of women didn't see other things that other people were doing and want to bring that into the relationship. Well,
Oh, okay.
we're not doing that, so let's do that.
Mm.
We're not taking trips, and we're not relationship goals, and we're not bathe this, and you know what I mean? So
Right.
it brings him something that he hadn't had time to really like contemplate and think about, like, huh.
Okay.
He's like, we here, we good.
Right.
But a lot of women, they typically can go outside of, because women are very interested in relationships anyway. Men
Mm.
are more interested in work.
Right.
So that's by design. We were designed for work. So we give a relationship, of course, but typically a man, you're only going to get what that man has. So when you get into a relationship with the man, whatever he has, whatever he's came to at that particular moment, that's all he has to give.
Okay.
So
Okay.
a lot of women kind of get sidetracked in the fact that what he's presenting right now, that's what he's came to out of all the years, out of his 38 years, of however old he is. That's the point that he's come to, and that's as far as he gotten on his own.
Okay.
Or if he's had, relationships and marriages and stuff before, but that's as far as he gotten. Wherever he is, that where you met him is where he is.
Right. How do we get a man to proceed with progression
I can't hear
in
you. We got to talk a little bit more into the mic.
how do we get a man to proceed with the progression of communication in a relationship? How do we, because I know for myself personally, I have this difficulty with my partner who, he sort of has a difficult time communicating to me effectively. And like, what would you say to a woman like me as to how to start the conversation, how to get the communication going?
How do you get the communication going with him? You got to start actually with what he's interested in.
Okay.
What he's interested in and what he's good in is where the energy and the time that he spent is.
Mm.
So the interest is where is the way. When you, if you're genuinely interested in a man opening up the communication aspect of who he is, you're gonna have
Mm.
to tap into what he's interested in, and
Okay.
then that interest you may not like, because the thing about it is, that man may not like talking about the thing that you want to talk about, but he will
Right.
do it
Okay.
because he loves you and he's interested in you.
Right.
And so he'll sit there and go through the process of you rationalizing it and expressing it. But
Mhm.
the on the flip side, women don't have enough interest, and men don't allow women to come into their little world, to where they can actually tap into who that man is and get a better understanding of who he is, because that's really a lot of the issue. A lot of the issue is just, we don't know it. You don't really know each other, because a
Right.
lot of the times they live two separate lives, meaning you go to work, I go to work. We have two
Right.
separate lives, and then by the end of the day, we've experienced so many things, and we're just glad to be home.
That's right.
And so you develop a whole different set of influences by the things that you're around or you're surrounding yourself with at work, the different interactions that you have, coworkers and friends and all that kind of stuff. Then you come home, you watch your version of TV, he watches his version of TV. And then over the course of time, you guys have developed two completely separate lives, two completely separate interests. And you don't know where that person is, because the collection of influences and the collection of different things that person experiences on a day-to-day level gets lost in translation.
Right.
So it's very important to be active in each other's lives on a daily basis and communicate on a daily basis. But ultimately, the interest is what builds that excitement in the relationship. It's the interest.
Okay. It's interest. Okay. Now let me ask Coach Elulu. Coach Elulu, what is it like having a effective communicator? You as a woman, and even that being your area of struggle initially, when you first started out with your husband. What is it? What are the benefits? I'll say to having an effective communicating man.
I'd say, and I want to reiterate, it's still, at least to me, it feels like it's still a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that I've gotten a little bit better, and I know, at least for me, it's gotten a bit better with getting my thoughts out. Because before it would be like we'd try and have a conversation, I would just like lock up and go silent because I didn't know how to express myself.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely, it's like a huge weight lifted, I feel, off of the relationship, having my love being the one that's such a great communicator, especially with him being the leader of the household. So it worked out very nicely.
Right.
I can see and understand how it can be very frustrating when it's the other way around.
Oh, yeah.
So
what do you mean the other way around?
like when the female is the stronger communicator than the male.
Mm-hmm.
So
what have you observed as far as that's concerned? From your perspective as a woman, what have you observed from women who have that frustration? What do you, and I guess I'm asking, like, well, first of all, yeah, answer that question. What have you observed specifically about women who have those particular struggles when they're the dominant communicator in the relationship?
Well, I think what happens and why it's so much harder too, because we're also so emotionally driven. Right. So that tying in with us being, or the female being the better communicator, what I notice is that it's more hectic. Like it's just so much going on. Like they're great at communicating, but they're communicating every whiff of emotion that comes across. Whereas if the male is a stronger communicator and they're the more logical led type of person, then it's more structured and it's more
disciplined.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I know for me as a woman dealing with a man that's not, I mean, he's amazing at so many other things, but communication is definitely his area of weakness. And for me, what happens for me more so than anything, I think it makes me feel like maybe he's just not as like the interest is not there, or I don't feel as supported because I don't have that communication connection with him.
And a lot of it too, I mean, it's just a lot of it is the way we're socialized as men. We're socialized from a real young age not to be communicative.
Right.
We're socialized, from the time a little boy, when he falls down and hurts himself and he starts crying, and the first thing they tell him is stop crying, stop expressing your emotions. And so it paints a picture. It starts to develop from there. But not only that, when you start growing older as a young man, and then it's everybody else is socialized like that too. So you run into a lot of guys who reconfirm that ideology that, okay, I'm not supposed to express how I actually feel. I'm just going to let it ride and just move on. And so that becomes a standard. The standard is that a masculine thing to do is not to be able to express and communicate yourself.
Right.
That's a feminine trait. And so with that, on the flip side, when a girl falls down, everybody runs to her and wants to
Oh yeah.
kiss on her, and
Coddle her.
she can cry as long as she wants to.
That's right.
Nobody tells her to shut up. Nobody tells her to not talk or not. That's not what women do.
Oh my
Nobody's
goodness.
ever said that. At least
So
that I
that's
know.
why we effectively communicate so well. Isn't that
Exactly.
so? Wow.
So it
Okay.
starts there. You start the process of painting a picture of how things are from that age.
Okay.
And so a lot of people do it, but they do it unbeknownst, because a lot of women that are complaining, that have the problem with men struggling with communication, are training their boys not to express themselves. So the cycle continues over and over and over again.
Oh, let me barge in on this subject then. Here's another question then for someone like me,
Mm-hmm.
and for all the mothers out there. I am a mother of a 11-year-old boy. Okay, how would I teach him that it is okay to express his emotions?
By talking to him. My mom, what she used to do with me is we would sit out on the patio. She would have her Kahlua and smoke her cigarettes, and we would just listen to like jazz music or whatever kind of music, Anita Baker. And that's how I got familiar with all that kind of great music, is because we would just talk. Like my mom would talk to me just about everything that she had going on, what she wanted to do, and relationships. And we would talk about my dad. We would talk about, our family. And so by having that open floor and talking to him as a person, just talk to him, because he's a person. He's a young man that's going to be a man one day, and he's going to have his own ideologies. He's going to have his own thoughts and his own ideas. So it's good that you can kind of streamline and taper them in the right direction, but do it in a way that he's a young man and he will be a man soon.
Okay.
And so to be able to express himself as a man can, because he will be logical. He'll be more logical even as a boy than the girl will.
Wow.
The process starts early, but the problem becomes when you stifle the expression of that logic. Then he has to find ways to curtail it. He has to find another way to do it, and usually it's through nonverbal communication. So a lot of men think, okay, if I'm doing this, I'm expressing to you that I love you. If I'm doing this, I'm expressing and I'm telling you, as opposed to showing you.
How much of communication is nonverbal?
93% of communication is nonverbal. 7% of what we say, when we're talking and we're communicating, only 7% of what we actually say is the words that come out of our mouths. The rest of it, the 93%, is actually nonverbal communication. That means our body language. That means our tone, the way we say things, or how we say things, the inflection. All these different things make up what we're actually saying. And so a lot of people think, and this is another thing I hear women say, is that he thinks that I can read his mind. But then on the flip side, a woman will absolutely say that actions speak louder than words. Yes. So it creates like which one do you want? Like, exactly. And how do I know when to do action, and how do I know when to say that I'm going to do action? Because that's the balance. That's the hard part about the balancing act. And what I started to do is you have to redefine the words that we use. The phrases that we use literally are the ones that are dictating the things that we see and we observe. And if our observations are wrong, then our analysis will be wrong.
Okay, so now to that,
let me just say this last point.
Okay.
So what I started doing, I started saying that my actions and my words are important. Neither one is more important. They work together. My actions speak louder with my words.
Okay.
So you can't. What good is an action without the words to let you know what the action is? It means. What good is the action without the words? What good is the words without the actions? They go hand in hand. You got to have both.
Okay.
And when you got both, so the focus should be on getting both on an equal level, the actions and the words, and then we won't have no problems. But we got to redefine what's important. Actions don't speak louder than words. They speak louder with words.
Okay. That is very powerful. How do I recognize my man's nonverbal communication, especially in the beginning while I'm, trying to maintain or maybe spark up conversation or communication? What is it that I need to recognize first with this nonverbal communication?
In the beginning of a relationship,
Mm,
it's like, you know what it's like? It's like when they do a lie detector test. The first thing they do is they establish a baseline, and they ask you basic questions. They ask you, is your name Christina? Is your name
mm,
Coach Elulu? And they say
mm,
yes. Then they
mm,
ask you, how tall are you? Are you 5'6"?
mm,
Then they ask you, they ask you very basic questions that you're gonna say yes to. And
mm,
they're establishing a baseline of what yes means. I have a book actually on body language. It's called The Sex Symbols Guide to Body Language. It's on Amazon. And so I wrote that years ago to help people to just see and be able to use certain tactics so that they can understand what a person is saying, but also what they're not saying. Because what you're not saying is just as important as what you're saying. And people need to be able to learn how to read what people are not saying as opposed to what they're saying. But realistically, we do that. Subconsciously, we do it. We just want to hear that person actually say the words. Because
mm.
for women, the words bring comfort.
Yeah, they
It's
do.
comfort food to a woman.
It's security. It
Right.
makes
It
us
is.
feel secure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what you want to do is you want to start establishing a baseline of, and women do it because y'all know men's patterns. And
Mm,
so you're developing an understanding of that man's pattern. But at the same time, you have to practice allowing. That's one of the main themes that we talk about is you have to allow that person to be who they are. You read the signs and you understand what that person is saying and what they're not saying, but you still allow room for error. You still allow room for them to grow and change and make mistakes and all that kind of stuff, because that's part of human nature. We grow like that. We didn't just wake up and come out the womb
right.
uh working at doing high levels of customer service. We didn't just come out the womb with a PhD, you know what I mean, and dictating things to the world. No, I mean, it's a process. You go through the process and you learn how to do things and you make mistakes. It's the same thing. And I'm gonna just briefly summarize how it works. It's just like your life. A relationship emulates life. When you
Mm,
go, you're learning. When you're learning the person at first, you become aware. So the initial phase of the relationship is you're just getting to know the person on a surface level.
right.
As you get through that surface level and you kind of like you start to have feelings for that person, you start to really start liking that person. Then it goes to the next phase where the deeper communication comes in, and that opens up the floor for a lot of levels of the relationship to grow. At a
Mm,
certain point in the relationship, guys, they stop there because they've stopped there a long time ago, meaning they've been stopped from expressing, going deep into their emotions at the age of 5 to 6 years old. So
mm,
you're dealing with a level of communication from that range, 5 to say 7 years old, when they have to realize that, I can't really be as expressive because that's not what men do.
okay.
So the process starts there. Now, as a woman, you've progressed individually
Right.
to where you are now. So you're 20 something years old, 30 something years old. You've been expressing yourself for a long time. The
Right.
man has not. He stopped a long time ago. He said, okay, I'm going to put on my man suit now. My man suit is going to guard me from other men, because that's how we think. We're animalistic in that way, because it is about domination. It is about alpha, that whole, macho thing. It's about that. I just prefer to do it. I'm going to outthink you. I'm going to out strategize you, but I'm also going to be able to express myself. So that was my approach. The relationship mimics a life. The two people come together, they create a life together. But you can't be compartmentalized in your life and be all these. But this is honestly the secret and the key to it, as far as that is concerned. The secret and the key to it is your relationship is only going to be as united as you are internally. So if you have things disconnected in your own life, meaning that you wanted to work out, you wanted to do this, you want to do that, you got all these things going on, all these irons in the fire, and then you wonder why you haven't progressed. Now, the relationship takes on that aspect, because you're only going to attract what you are, or what you are comfortable with, or what you're familiar with. So you're going to attract a man that has a similar way of doing things that you do. It may not be the exact same, but it's his variation of what you do. You attract that man, and then his variation or his issues that are prevalent amongst men begins to rear its ugly head, and now you got a problem with that. But and that's what I've learned to do, you investigate the woman, you go into her, and you start to work on her and help her out, and then y'all grow together better. But typically what happens is most guys, they don't have the ability to do that because they don't do it for themselves. And most women, that is the missing compartment to actually both of their lives. When they come together and they start working together on those issues, I'm gonna help you work on your workout and being disciplined in this area and doing that and structuring out your day, and you're gonna help me be able to effectively communicate and express myself on a level that makes me feel secure. Also, I got to feel secure enough with you to be able to tap into those areas that I haven't tapped into since I was 5, 6, 7 years old. So yeah, but a lot of guys retreat. I notice another thing a lot of women have a problem with. A lot of guys retreat when there seems to be a problem. You know, they have a problem in the relationship, or something happened during the day, or things aren't going well as far as work is concerned, because that's by design. Man, we were designed and created for work. And I don't want to get too detailed in that, but we were designed for work. Women were designed for relationships. Women were designed to be helpmeets. And so with that mentality, men don't really have that mechanism in us to make us really want to do a relationship. We give the relationship. Matter of fact, it's symbolic as far as engagement is concerned. When a man gives away his ring, he's giving away his relationship. So he's giving away that aspect of his life to that woman, because that is predominantly a male aspect, to give you a relationship. Because this is why I say that, because whatever skills and things that he's learned and developed, those are going to be an asset to that woman. So if he's a great communicator, he's great with money, he's great at managing life, great at doing things properly. Matter of fact, man, if you think about manager, the first root word of it is man. But manager means to be able to effectively handle multiple areas effectively. So I don't know, is this making sense to y'all? I feel like I'm kind of rambling.
I'm just taking it all in.
But yeah, I mean,
I'm following.
You following? But men retreat back because, for one thing, like I said, a relationship was designed for women. So if there was no woman, there would be no need to have a relationship, because it facilitates the family unit. All right. So with that thinking in mind, facilitation of a family unit and a structure that a man brings to a family unit, a lot of men haven't been able to develop these skills to be able to manage a family unit. So that's something that, I mean, it's a whole thing, but that's something that, as far as women is concerned, if with this broad view of understanding how the societal standards and how culturally we kind of like tell men not to be able to express themselves. And then too, you got to be able to say to yourself, like, it's okay if men can talk. Because I notice a lot of women will think that, well, he shouldn't be able to talk like that because that's what women do. If a man can really clearly communicate, a lot of women deem that as a feminine thing, which kind of shuns men away from it. Even older women, they'll shun like men being able to talk. They'll see, they'll say it's gay or effeminate or whatever, because a man can clearly express himself and he can go back and forth with the woman. That's another thing. I think they think that it's catty, like a dude is being catty if he can. Because what I do in those situations, I'm not trying to have you affect my thinking. I'm not going to let you pollute my mind with the foolishness that you've been conditioned to believe. So I'm going to say, no, that's not true. Or I'm going to go back and forth with you, not in a combative way, but in a way like, why do you believe that? Okay, you believe that, but that's not true because of this. But right. Women will keep going. Some women will keep going. Some women will actually listen and be like, okay, that makes sense. I was wrong about that. And those are women that I like to interact with.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, it's difficult. It's different with dudes, because interacting with guys, from me, I know that there's the guy suit that we have on. We put on the man suit, and then because that's what happens, you overcompensate when you can't tap in emotionally and communicate. You overcompensate for being extra masculine.
Yeah.
And realistically, it's not really who you are, because
Right.
women know, and that's the thing. Like that's why I like to interact with guys around their woman, because what that does is it lowers their defense mechanism. It causes them to really be who they are, because they can't lie, and they can't act like they got it all together.
Okay.
They can't act like the got it all together suit is on, because the woman is there like, no, you don't got it together. You still got this to do and that to do.
Right.
So it removes that stuff out of there. So
kind of keep them humble.
yeah, exactly. It lowers the defenses. Exactly.
And now I'd like to pose a question. How did effective communication improve for you guys in the beginning?
Well, for us, it's funny going back, because now I think what a lot of women do is, for me, like, okay, before I met her, I was detaching myself from the societal and the social construct. So I was really like not listening. I wasn't watching TV. I wasn't going out to the clubs. I wasn't doing none of that stuff, because I was like, okay, I got to start retreating back into like a good place, because I was doing my podcast. I was doing the Sex Symbol podcast then. So I was really focused on that. So a lot of my time and energy went into that, as opposed to going out and being out and doing different things like that. So a lot of that stuff was cut off for me. Now, when we first met, she was out there, going and doing stuff, and going out partying and doing all that kind of stuff. And I had to sit down and say, oh, whoa, you, like, this is too much. I need a woman that's going to be chilled. You know what I mean? Like, I need a woman that's going to be more so at a place in her life where she's like done with that.
Right. Like more still.
More stable.
Stable.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, more stable.
Yeah.
And has gotten out of that place. But she was 24 at that time, so she was real young.
Is that how old I was when you met me?
Yeah. At that time.
24, yeah.
Yeah.
So my life was basically like working 6, sometimes 7 days a week. I was going to family events. I was going out, dinners, and all this stuff. So he knew at the root of things why it's so important to like slow down. But for me, because that had been my life for so long, and like my habits and just like my routine, my culture, it put me in a state of like, what did we call it? It was almost like I was just like coasting as far as me understanding who I am and like and knowing myself like internally. So then I come across this wonderful man, and he gets me to like pump the brakes. And obviously the motivation of me, liking him and stuff like that is going to make me want to listen to him. But then it like really made it known to myself and him that I hadn't paid attention to that part of me, and like what has been going on over the years, how I've changed and what I've suppressed and things like that. So then when he's asking me questions and we're trying to have conversations, and it's just like, I want to communicate, but it's just like, I don't know. I've never asked myself these questions. I've never taken the time to understand who I was and how I felt about things and my opinions and stuff like that. So like at first, definitely like the influence, limiting the influence is huge to kind of just refocus. And
people swore I was trying to control her.
A lot of people would say something like that, though.
But,
they don't understand what the structure of a relationship is. If they don't get what a man's role is, like
they will absolutely see
then
it.
They will absolutely see it that way.
Yeah. I'm so grateful I didn't listen.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful too.
Oh, I'm so happy. Yeah.
I mean, but I think control is not a good thing. I mean, control can be a good thing, I should say. Control could be a good thing. I think it kind of runs into abuse when you're leading a woman the wrong way. Because sometimes we say that's control because we don't want to do it. We want to do something totally different. So we'll say that person's trying to control me, because even though they're telling me the right thing to do, that person's
Right.
trying to control me because I don't want to do it.
Right.
But it's like this. I always used to think about it like this. Like, I can tell her not to dress a certain way or go out a certain type of way, go out to a certain type of place. Now, if something happens, some guy tries to be ultra aggressive to her, she gonna want me to come down there and beat the dude up.
Right.
But that's and then if I don't go down there and beat him up, then that's gonna be looked at as me being weak or a coward or whatever.
Exactly.
But I told her not to go.
Exactly.
I'm protecting her by prevention as
Exactly.
opposed to now I got to go down there and potentially fight this dude for nothing.
Which shows wisdom, by the way.
Exactly.
It does.
So that's what I'm saying. So people look at it like that's a person trying to control you by telling you what you can wear and what you cannot wear. But
No.
ultimately, like I said, a man gives a woman the relationship. So she's representing him. She's representing what he is and what he knows and how he thinks and what he thinks about things. So if she's representing him in a way that is disrespectful to him, and that's why it's so important to be able to communicate. But a woman will listen if she can see the fruits.
I don't know about y'all ladies, but I know I want a man that can lead me and guide me and help me to be a better version of myself.
Right. But
Period.
really what you're saying is you want a man that can communicate. Because
Absolutely.
that all comes in the communication package.
Absolutely.
And he can tell you that I don't want you doing this, but here's the reason why I don't want you doing this.
Exactly.
See, another thing too, women think that men communicate exactly how they how they communicate. So a lot of women want a man to communicate exactly how she communicates.
Right.
But it doesn't work like that. Even if he is tapped in emotionally, that logical component of how we think will absolutely detour how we feel. Because think about it like this. You don't feel like going to work every day, but you get up because you think if I don't go to work, then I ain't gonna be able to put no food, no gas, I ain't gonna be able to take. So that's logic. That's thinking through things and making and going to the end of what could potentially happen. And that's causing you to make a decision right then, even though emotionally you don't feel like making that decision. You feel like doing something opposite. But logically, you're going to make that decision because you know it's in the best influence and the best. It's in the best. It's for the best. It's in the best interest. There you go, baby. See what a great relationship. We work together.
You work together, and let me tell you what I think that's called effort. It's called effort.
Okay.
You know, you make an effort when you know, especially when you understand that, you know, like we all have weaknesses. And if one of those weaknesses is communication, just make the effort. Make the effort.
That's the thing though. And I'm only saying this because guys think they're making the effort by doing. That's why I said that earlier, because a lot of guys think, okay, well, I'm making the effort. It's just a matter of if you're able to recognize it. So you're supposed to, and that's why the frustration of a lot of women, like, I can't read your mind.
Right.
But on the same token, if your internal belief system is actions speak louder than words, and you're actually sending that signal out, and you're sending that belief system out because that's what you believe, that's what he's going to be doing.
That's what he's going to be, an action-oriented person,
Exactly.
which we all love action. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I love, like, you know, like, because my guy's an action guy too. And I love an action guy. I love it. I love to be shown, you know, more than I'm told, you know, but however, I think that there is also a balance, you know, that we can all have. Like, there's nothing wrong with a little balance. And sometimes that communication just gives that little extra security, that little extra feeling of being cared for.
Right.
And I think that that's why you hear a lot of the frustration from women, because we just, you know, we all want to feel safe, you know, and always feel like we belong, you know, when it comes to our mates. And sometimes when they do have that lack of communication, it tends to make us question things and make us feel insecure as opposed to secure. Now, obviously, you know, there's other internal stuff working there too. And that, you know, again, that's another a whole nother topic. But
I mean, this is not an end all be all. It's just a framework, I think, for how things could potentially be and things potentially go. It's not exactly like everybody has the same experiences. We're not that crazy over at relationships. Chill, but
no.
You know what I mean? We're more realistic than that. But I think a lot of guys want to. I don't think that they know how to and know how effective it is. And emotionally, I think a lot of guys don't want to hurt women's feelings.
Right.
With the absolute truth, because men, we have some very deep, dark thoughts. And we go to deep places that we don't think a woman should be.
For real.
We go to the mud. We go to the trenches of of
our inner. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, we go to the trenches. I'm talking about crazy, but we take it for granted how far down in the trenches women go too. You know what I mean? Like how far down. I always told men, like, man, like the things we think about is light work, especially like on a sexual level. It's like light. It's like the trial-free version of what most women think about sexually.
I'm telling you,
I notice, man, women want sex way more than men do.
Oh, we do.
I'd be like, man, I got work to do. I got to concentrate my energies, my mental forces, and then here she go. Look, my love.
look my
be over there twerking, but
this is another episode, my love.
Here it is.
Hey, I'm just saying. You know, we edit that part out.
A lot of our love languages touch.
Hey, my love language.
I'm definitely one of them.
My love language is penetration.
Oh my goodness.
Hey,
clearly.
Hey, relationships and chill. Everybody close your ears. Relationship and chill. Everybody close your ears.
This ain't for the children.
This ain't for the children. But the
Wu-Tang
children
is not for the. We ain't for the children.
So
Wu-Tang is for the children, but relationship and chill ain't for the children.
Boy, Mama, don't listen to this one.
Hey, Mama, please don't hold it against me. I'm an angel. I am an angel, Mama. I got my prayer hands up. My prayer hands is up.
Mama.
I'm about to go get a cross and wrap it around my whole body. But but yeah, hey, communication is important. But you know, that's part of it too. It makes a woman secure. Like another thing, a lot of women, it compounds and compounds and compounds to where like the sexual aspect is kind of like stifled because a woman doesn't feel the connection. Yeah. And but when you're always, this is like a little bit of tidbit for the men, like when you're expressive and communicative and you're like 100% yourself and you're just being yourself at any moment, that woman, it does something to a woman. I ain't figured it out yet, but it does something to a woman when she knows that who you are is going to be who you are, and you can express it and explain it and break it down in a way she never could have thought of. Man, that woman she'll do whatever it is possible to make sure you stay pleased.
I'm telling you.
And then stay consistent with that.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you have to be consistent with it, obviously. But I mean, like that's what I'm saying. You are like that across the board, period, every day.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't retreat back. It makes a woman go berserk.
It does. But you know what, though? That went back into one of our first episodes when you're talking about truth and honesty. And that begins, you know, like that truth and honesty thing. It begins the start of a very beautiful relationship. You remember how like back in the day, people would say like a relationship is kind of comparable to a garden. If you don't maintain your garden, then weeds will start to grow and the plants and flower could die. And before you know it, that garden is a messy jungle. It's no longer that beautiful garden that you started out with. And I think that, you know, a whole lot of us, sometimes we get to allowing life to happen, you know, like we working hard, you know, we got the kids or, you know, not the kids. We might have the dogs. We might have the cats. We've got bills. We've got, you know, just all the things that life kind of.
But I think a lot of people move too fast in certain areas.
Yeah, we do move fast.
Because we don't have a head start. Thankfully, I had my mentor, and he deterred me from a lot of things.
Yes.
To where I don't have a lot of responsibilities as far as children and stuff like that.
Yes.
We live a very simple life. Like, we live a very simple life. And you have to find somebody that's going to sign up for what you are. Y'all have to sign up for it together.
That's right.
But whatever you want, wherever you are, just make sure that's what you want to remain. And because not saying that you are always going to be that way, but at least you establish a baseline. And as things change, as you desire different things and you desire more, you're able to express that to that
That's
person,
right.
but you just can't one day just walk in and drop a bomb on them. You know what I mean?
No.
It has to be a consistent like process where I'm sharing and communicating with her the subtle
Mhm.
changes and on a day-to-day basis what I'm thinking about, what I'm contemplating and stuff like that. And she's
Okay.
doing the same for me. I'm more the dominant communicator in our relationship, obviously, but but I, you know, like a lot of women are the dominant one, and I can see how it's very frustrating when you aren't able to get any feedback from that man. You're not able to get the proper feedback where you feel like, okay, I'm satisfied with the plan or the understanding of what's going on within your mind, so
Okay.
that they don't want to feel like you're just gonna walk in one day and drop a nuclear bomb on them and their whole life changes.
Right. Okay.
You know.
Well, I have a final question for you guys, and especially for those who are listening in right now and who are wondering, well, how should I individually um, change in order to improve communication in my own relationship, whether I be male or female? What is it that I can do individually to improve that communication level?
The only way to do it is to do it.
Okay.
The only way to learn how to communicate is to know where you are first and express it. That's how I learned how to do it, and that's the way I mean, you can't do anything and get better. Like this podcast, I was very hesitant about doing it because I didn't know. I felt it's like that leap of faith, and I wasn't sure if I even was able to do it and have people follow my way of thinking. So if you listen to it, I'm always like, let me know what y'all think. Give me some feedback.
Right.
Give me something. So
Right.
that's how it starts, really. And then as you just say, you know what, I ain't getting no feedback. Y'all just gonna have to take what I got, since y'all ain't gonna give me no feedback. If y'all ain't gonna help me, then you just gonna have to take what I got. And so, but and that's in essence what it is. You just got to start with where you are, and you can't get out of a hole by digging deeper. You know what I mean? At one point, you got to start shoveling some dirt back into the hole and dig your way out of it.
Okay.
Because if you keep going, and it's going to only get worse. It's going to progressively get worse. But on the flip side, I can say for a better way, if you're the person that is the dominant communicator and you want that aspect of communication from your partner, and you have to be patient with them. You have to
Mhm.
work with them on where they are, and that's what I was saying in the beginning. You go to what they're interested in. If he likes sports and you see that he's very expressive and talks about sports, you start there and then allow him to teach you, because ultimately what you're going to be doing is teaching him or teaching her how to be expressive too. But you got to know the points of interest. You have to establish that baseline of, this is what makes them excited. This type of thing makes them excited. And we're going to be
Right.
sharing obviously more information. This is just like a sampler, I guess, because we could talk about this for a long time. This is probably gonna be close to an hour already right
Yeah.
now.
Mhm.
I will say though, with me, what helped a lot from you, that you helped guide me through like me getting over my or working through my communication struggles, is you would always tell me just speak as you think. Because
Mm-hmm.
my whole thing was I would always go through an entire thought process in my head.
Mhm.
No one would hear any of it. And then all of a sudden I come to this conclusion, and then I like make peace with it myself. And I haven't shared any of that with you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mhm.
And then that usually goes on for however long. And then all of a sudden there's a problem or something that's come up due to me thinking like that
Wow.
over the course of whatever. And my love, you have no idea what's been going on for the past week or
Mhm.
month
Mm-hmm.
in my head, and how I've logically or emotionally or whatever, how I've got to that point. So that was a good almost like mantra I had to just keep when it was really
Keep telling
bad, just
yourself.
keep telling myself, just like speak as you think, speak as you think. I had to make
Mhm.
sure I included you in everything. And then of course, like you said, the influence was huge, limiting that. We're fortunate in that we spend almost all day every day
Right.
together, so
Right.
our influences are
right.
pretty similar, and we're pretty in sync with one another,
Right.
and we're exposed to the
Similar
same
things. Right.
same things. um and as well, I know this is gonna go into like a whole other episode, but it did make a difference. You got me to change my diet. Because when I met you, I was still eating meat and stuff, so you were a vegetarian, and I remember I changed to vegetarian.
Wasn't it a story with bacon, you guys?
What's that?
Wasn't it a story with bacon? And he was like, my woman not eating no bacon?
Nah, she dipped in and had a bacon something one time. That was like a long time ago. Yeah, she don't really remember the bacon cloud on her mind. That. She had some kind of thing, but that was like in the very beginning of the relationship. Yeah. Probably like, like maybe that following year.
I can't even remember.
You went out with one of your friends. Y'all had like a wrap or a sandwich or something that had like little bits of bacon.
I remember we went to dinner and I asked someone to make it without meat, and they still made it with meat. And
you gobbled it up, huh?
I had one bite and then they changed it for me. I sent it back.
Still, that counts.
Oh, hush.
Every little bit counts. So watch your tone, woman. It's a podcast. There's no violence in our relationship.
And then
y'all should see them. They're so cute.
I will say the other thing as well, besides speak as you think, was he really, really helped me see that. Because what he noticed was he would ask me about my work, which is probably why he was bringing up for females to take an interest into whatever your partner was into. So he noticed that whenever we spoke about the yoga classes I would teach or the massage therapy, like working at the clinics and stuff, I could just go off and I would just talk and talk and talk. I could explain everything in detail. But then when it comes to like what's going on with me internally or the relationship, I would like freeze up. So he really helped me to see the connection in all aspects of our lives, to notice that it's the same process. Like if you're for the example he had given me was if a client was late or something to their appointment, I had great communication skills in that area where I would let the future clients that I had for that day, let them know this is what's happening.
Right.
So we're going to have to push back your appointments XYZ amount of time because of this. Or I would have to tell the person who's late, this is why I cannot extend your treatment because I have so-and-so, my day is full or something. Right. So it's going to throw us, like, you know what I mean? Like we naturally, usually, it comes naturally for us in work because.
And so now that you mention that, you know, that is very true. And I forgot all about that. Dang, I'm pretty good, baby.
Yeah.
But no,
you're listening to me like, yeah.
I'm like, hey, I forgot all about that. But no, I mean, I started to make, I remember now, I was like, so you have to make, so this is what I did with that. I was like, you see how that works with them. You do it because you know it's going to affect your pay. You know it's going to affect your money. You know it's going to affect your bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I said, with us, it's which one do you value more, the money or the love that we have in the relationship that we're trying to build?
Wow.
And so, you know, to be able to do that in our relationship showed me that she valued the relationship over the money that she, you know, because it's like if you could do it with money, but you don't want to do it with a relationship or can't do it with a relationship, obviously I'm going to work with you. But if you prefer to just, then your only focus is in on the money. That's the thing that determines what you do and what you don't do, as opposed to the person that you're actually in love with. You got to make that decision. And a lot of people just make the decision for the money. They'll listen to their boss and to their job to tell them to come in at 7:00 in the morning. But if their husband say, or their wife says, I need you to do this, they're like, I can't do it. Or they just don't do it.
Mm-hmm. So
it shows the interest in what they value more than the other. And I was like, listen, we can't have a relationship where money is is more important than the relationship.
The relationship, yeah.
So, but I was like, and I made it very clear, like, this is something that I need. This is very important to the relationship in order for it to continuously grow. It's the lifeblood of relationship. It's the lifeblood of the relationship. Communication is the lifeblood of the relationship. Now, to change it up a little bit, it has to be transparent, honest communication, because lies are a form of communication also. So it's not just communication, but just having that open door or transparency of communication that's where you want to start. But ultimately, the aim is to be transparent in your communication, to where you express exactly how you feel, how you think, and exactly where you are at that moment, so that person can actively gauge it and not come to their own conclusion.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. We don't have. I mean, I guess that's all I wanted to say. I think. Just keep in mind that men really don't. We haven't worked on communication. And so a lot of guys just don't know how to communicate. We just don't know how to express. And then too, you have to know what you need as far as communication. Don't change it up. Stick to your guns. Stick to the thing that you say. You can't all of a sudden say, I want you to communicate about this. And then you hear your girlfriends or your cousin or you see on TV where they're talking about they like men that communicate about this or this type of communication style. And then you're giving him different feedback every day and in a different way when he's actually trying to make the progress. So allow him to be expressive in the way that he knows how, and then gradually bring him up to speed in a way that you feel satisfied with, because he's new to it. He's new to you and your version of what communication means to you. So it's going to take time, but you got to meet him where he is, meet him at his interests, because that's going to open up the excitement. That's going to open up and make him vulnerable. It's really about the vulnerability. It makes him vulnerable to understanding what you mean when you say, because secretly now, don't tell nobody this now, because what you're doing is you're going to go in and you're going to learn about whatever it is. Take a genuine interest in whatever he's interested in, because what you're going to do, you're going to be able to equate that to different aspects of the relationship and why it's important to do this over that and that over this. So if he's interested in basketball, then you go and you learn him as much as you can about basketball. And then you say, well, our relationship is like a team and you're like the coach. If the coach doesn't run the play, if he doesn't call out the play, then they're just out there free floating. And that's what we're doing as a family. We're just kind of free floating. And but the most successful teams, they have a structure. They have plays. They have this. So you're able to break down things that person can understand, that he understands, and communicate it back to him in a way that you want to express.
Right. Just like you did with me with work.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then I got it.
You got it, baby. But it's like, easier for women to get it. It's a lot easier for women to get it.
Yeah.
For men, you have to find the interest, and you have to genuinely be a student of him and his interests.
Okay.
Because women will go to school all day for nursing and, to be a doctor, to be whatever. But when it comes to their man, they tend to kind of like think, okay, well, we're here in the relationship, so I got him. But no, that's when a man really starts to get, either he starts getting worse or he starts to get better at certain aspects. And if you're not observant of him, a lot of that stuff will go over your head. And he'll start to feel like, well, she's not hearing me. I need to find me a woman that understands me. And then that's how a lot of cheating happens.
Oh, that's the truth. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. So you got to be a student of that man. You got to be observant of who he is and the subtle changes, and actually admire them, appreciate them. If he's making progress, if he's trying to make progress to become a better communicator, the little steps that he's making, appreciate those things, acknowledge them.
That's the truth.
Because he don't have to do it. And if he feels if he feels as though he's not being appreciated, he's going to find a woman that appreciates the little things that he does. Absolutely. And matter of fact, it's going to be better now because he's learning from you.
He's learning from you how to be better to another woman. Isn't that the truth?
Exactly. And that's how it happens.
That's how it goes.
Yep. So you got to be appreciative of it. You really have to become a different woman when you tell a man to be different, because he's going to become different. You're going to have to become different. You can't be the same and expect something different, because there's a shift that happens. And so if you stay on top of that shift by studying him, studying yourself, he'll absolutely study you, because he wants to learn how to be a better communicator to get on your sweet side.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, but a lot of times guys just don't understand. And that's what we're here to do. Make sure you let your husbands and boyfriends and significant others and whatever else you want to call them, make sure you let him hear this, because I think we touched on a lot of great things, a lot of great points. Give us your feedback, because I think that's good for this episode. But if you want to know more in depth about a specific area, I will gladly touch on it. I'll come to your church. I'll come to your house. I come to your ballroom. I come wherever you need me to go and talk to y'all about this new thing called relationships and chill. It is the wave of the future if you want a great relationship. But tell your mama and them, tell your cousins, tell your auntie, because they ain't got no man. But we gonna help them get a man. You know, if here's the thing, if I can help your auntie and them get a man, listen, y'all should just send me donations. Donations. Y'all should just send me some donations. I'm getting mama them, everybody getting a man. 2018-19 is gonna be called Get Them a Man Tour.
That's it.
The Get Them a Man Tour.
Get Them a Man Tour. And I'm gonna be there.
You got a man.
I got a man, y'all, but hey, we making my relationship great again. Hey, let's go.
That's what it's all about. Y'all got anything before we close this thing out? Coach Elulu, where can they find you at? Or you got any closing remarks, conclusions?
Well, I'll say that, like I had mentioned before with eating, I remember you were talking to somebody and you were saying how matching diets with you and your partner is definitely huge too. What helped me as well was keeping my lifestyle healthy so that I can think more clearly, and my patience was better, and
clarity.
Yeah, I definitely
clearly
noticed our relationship become stronger after I improved myself, which is what I'm very passionate about. And you can see me talk more about that on my Instagram page at Coach Elulu is where you can find me. I'm also on Facebook as well at Elulu or Coach Elulu. You can find me there too. And yeah, that's what I'm all about. Keeping healthy.
For the ladies.
Yourself. Yes, ladies, come check me out over there. I'm here to help all the women out.
She's empowering women.
She's empowering me too, everybody.
One vagina at a time.
Hey, one vagina at a time. One vagina at a time.
One vagina at a time. Changing the world.
Goodness.
Hey, changing vaginas. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, changing the world one vagina at a time. Anyway, Christina Lynn, what you got going on?
Hey, I'm on Instagram. You guys can find me at Caviar's Queen. Right now I am working on a website that'll be in the works. I'll let you guys know that information. And yeah, relationships and chill is that deal. Everybody tune in or be square.
That is absolutely correct.
Hey.
And you guys can check me out. If y'all got any questions too, you can hit me up on Relationships and Chill. You can send me a message and ask questions and interact. I ain't gonna bite nobody. At Relationships and Chill on Instagram and YouTube. We're gonna get that up and ups ups soon. We just want to make sure that this area is solidified with the podcast. This is where a majority of the information will come, because people have a really short attention span period, but YouTube I think has a lot more going on, so it's a little bit harder with this. You can clean up your house and take a shower and all that stuff and still have the podcast going.
Right.
So we're focused on this. Like I said, YouTube. That's sex. No, not the sex symbol stuff. Don't go there. But you can if you want to.
No,
but no, Relationships and Chill TV. Relationships and Chill TV. We're on there. Spreaker. We're on all the major platforms. iTunes, of course. So whatever you're listening to this on, please continue to listen to it. Subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification stuff so that you can get the downloads as soon as they happen. And be sure to tell your mom and them. Tell your aunties, your cousins that this is the best podcast on relationships on earth.
That's right.
On earth with an F.
Sir.
And have them tune in too, because we want to change the world and help relationships as a whole. Not just, I mean, we're gonna help you too. Don't think we ain't gonna help you. We're gonna help you for a fact. We ain't gonna never leave you out, but don't be afraid to share with mama them too. They want love. You know what I'm saying? Don't hold back.
Mama need love too.
Yeah, mama need love too. Don't hold it back from your aunties, your cousins. Share the wealth, people. Share the wealth.
Share the wealth.
So, but that's been today's episode. And like I said, you guys can check us out on all these various platforms. The lady at the end, she gonna be talking to. She gonna let y'all know. So definitely listen to the outro. And peace and blessings to all. And to all, peace and blessings. It's been R. Anthony, Christina Latrice, Lynn, and my woman, Coach Elulu. We out of here.
We out.
Peace.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Relationships and Chill. For more information on cultivating the relationship of your dreams, please follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Relationships and Chill, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Relationships and Chill TV. You can also visit our website at www.relationshipsandchill.com. Together, let's make relationships great again.